against the number 15 seed in the first round, the South Carolina State Bulldogs. Good evening, everybody. Mike Patrick and Dan Bonner, and it's great to have you with us for the opening round of the NCAA tournament. Duke is seeded number 2, one of the premier programs in the country. South Carolina State out of the MEAC, a conference that has never won an NCAA tournament game. It would seem like a classic mismatch, but Dan, South Carolina State isn't worried about it at all.
No, the Bulldogs sure aren't, Mike. Of course, the last 7 years, the MEAC has been represented by North Carolina A&T, and so South Carolina State, with its best season ever, managed to win the league title this year. At the press conference yesterday, the players said they thought Duke had to be more worried about guarding them than they did the Blue Devils.
Duke is 24-7, coming off of that tough loss to North Carolina in the ACC championship game. You might be worried about a team getting up for a first-round match, but they're usually pretty good at it.
I don't know that they'll be as intense, Mike, as they were for Sunday's game, but in 1986, the Blue Devils very nearly fell on their face against Mississippi Valley State in the opening round of the tournament, so I think Mike Krzyzewski will have them ready.
Game's very important for anybody who gets in the NCAA tournament, but especially for South Carolina State.
They're really thrilled about it. In fact, the president closed the school tomorrow so nobody'd have to go back before spring break, and Coach Cy Alexander said he hoped some of the NCAA tournament money would be used to get him one full-time assistant at South Carolina State.
We have a different perspective here in Greensboro. South Carolina State against Duke, and we'll be back with the starting lineups in just a moment. Welcome back to the Greensboro Coliseum. We've got Duke and South Carolina State coming up. The Blue Devils 24-7, finished in a tie for second in the ACC. South Carolina State 25-7. Let's get the starting lineups from public address announcer Larry Dunlap.
State and the Blue Devils of Duke. The forwards for the Bulldogs, a 6'5" senior from Columbia, South Carolina, number 14, Arthur Caldwell. For Duke, a 6'5" junior from Fayetteville, North Carolina, number 21, Robert Brickey. South Carolina State, a 6'6" senior from Lux Corner, South Carolina, number 35, Rodney Mack. For the Blue Devils, a 6'10" senior from Bowie, Maryland, number 35, Danny Ferry. The centers for the Bulldogs, a 6'8" senior from Charleston, South Carolina, number 33, Stephen Mazie. Duke, a 6'10" freshman from Angola, New York, number 32, Chris Leitner. At the guards, for South Carolina State, a 6'1" senior from Clinton, Maryland, number 22, Eric Jeter. For the Blue Devils, a 6'4" junior from University Park, Illinois, number 3, Phil Henderson. For the Bulldogs, a 5'11" senior from Cambridge Heights, New York, number 11, Daryl Gilmore. And for Duke, a 6'3" senior from Mercer Island, Washington, number 14, Quinn Snyder. The coaches, Cy Alexander for South Carolina State and Mike Krzyzewski coaches Duke. The officials of the NCAA, Terry Stout, Mark Chavin, and Paul Sternberg.
The number 15 seed against the number 2 seed in the East. Opening round action of the NCAA. Back with a tip-off in a moment. The officials for tonight's game, Terry Stout, Max Chauvin, and Paul Sternberger. And the matchups in the starting lineups, and of course you have to look at who might end up on Danny Ferry.
Well, Steve Mazik said yesterday that he thought he'd be the guy matching up against Danny Ferry. South Carolina State is going to try to use their quickness to offset Duke's size. So I think we'll see South Carolina State try to push the ball up and down.
Mazik against Leitner in the center circle. South Carolina State's ball. Daryl Gilmore will try for 3. Loose ball, and the Bulldogs come out with it. They'll set up again. Well, they get the first one off in a hurry.
Well, obviously their game plan isn't to be patient, Mike.
Average 82 points a game. Here's the steal by Brickey. Duke tenacious on defense. Christian Leitner kicks it back outside. This is Danny Ferry.
One place where Duke has a big advantage, Mike, is on the inside.
Snyder back to Leitner. Duke being very patient to get the good shot. Leitner missed it, however.
Good block out by South Carolina State. Caldwell doing a nice job. He started the year number 14 as a point guard, but had to move down to forward. So when he gets a rebound, he can get the ball and get it up the court.
Ferry got a hand on it, knocked it out of bounds. Caldwell, of course, playing forward now at 6'5", along with Mazik, who's 6'8", Rodney Mack, who's 6'6". Not much of height in the front line.
Mack is a real moose inside, though, Mike. He averaged 13.5 rebounds a game last year and 11.5 this year.
He's got the ball, and he's fouled on the way up.
That's Rodney Mack right there, falling to the floor after a foul by Bricky.
You don't know much about South Carolina State. There are some bare statistics, an enrollment of only 4,500 students, and they're from Orangeburg, South Carolina. This is their first trip ever to the NCAA, and the most wins they've ever had in this season, 25 this year.
Rodney Mack, who you get a look at right there, you can see his numbers on the year. He's the leading scorer and rebounder for the Bulldogs. Shoots 72% from the free throw line. That's Cy Alexander.
Hit them both. And South Carolina State has a 2-0 lead. And here's pressure. They are quick, Dan.
And they want to utilize that quickness as much as they can. Now, here's a place where their quickness really doesn't do them much good. Duke letting Danny Ferry bring the ball up the court. Ferry's every bit as quick as Mazik, so that's a pretty good play by the Blue Devils.
Leitner from Snyder lost it on the way up. Last touch by the Bulldogs.
Good hands in there by the Bulldogs. Leitner, you can see, trying to power the ball to the basket. Coach Mike Krzyzewski and his staff would really like to see his team punch the ball inside early in the ball game.
Snyder to Ferry, ran around a screen, kicks it back. Anderson, who's played very well down the stretch, got caught inside, forced it up. Ferry. Ferry again.
Danny Ferry just up over Rodney Mack, Mike. He's just too big in there. South Carolina State is going to have to do a better job blocking out on the boards.
Mack giving up 4 inches to Danny Ferry. Feed it inside. Mack has it over Leitner. Ferry got the rebound, hammered by Mazik, and he'll pick up the foul.
Danny Ferry is a very effective offensive basketball player, Mike, not only from inside, but from outside, but from inside as well. Here, it's just a matter of moving to the board as his teammate drives to the basket, and then with some pretty good hands, controls the ball and softly gets it in the basket.
Snyder, under a lot of pressure, got it to Ferry. Best passing big man I can remember for years and years. Missed that shot, however, and here comes Caldwell on the run.
Bulldogs like to get out and run. Be a foul on Gilmore, trying to set a screen against Robert Bricky.
Gerald Gilmore, the senior out of Cambridge Heights, New York, picks up his first. Dan, you've been in games where you were a heavy underdog and you thought maybe you'd have a chance to win. When does reality set in?
Oh, well, on my team, it's usually about now, Real.
Blue Devils, of course, with 14 NCAA appearances as Snyder scores. This is their 6th straight trip under Mike Krzyzewski.
And even though South Carolina has an advantage in quickness, Mike, I think the Bulldogs need to do a better job moving their feet out in the front. That time Gilmore went for the steal, allowed Snyder to get by, and Mack had to come and help, and he got the foul.
It's a great record in the tournament, 29 and 13 in the NCAA. Snyder, excellent free throw shooter. Missed that one, however. Ferry, nice fake, and does not get the roll. Leitner tipped. And the foul will go against Duke.
You see Duke just all over the backcourt. Coach Cy Alexander standing up there at the top of your screen, exhorting his troops on. There's not very much you can do. South Carolina State was in pretty good lockout position that time, I thought. But when you're 6'6" and the other guys are 6'10", it's just a little difficult to get the ball.
Foul was on Leitner. It's 4-2 Duke. Mazik. Floater into the lane and ties it.
Good move by Mazik to put the ball on the deck and drive around Danny Ferry on the perimeter.
He averages 11 points a game.
Mazik had a big game in the MEAC title game, Mike.
Almost picked off, and it is by Mazik.
Telegraph pass, and Mazik stepped right around in front. He was really looking forward to matching up against Danny Ferry.
This is Gilmore. Snyder knocks it away from him, though, and Bricky picks it up. The longer South Carolina State stays in this game, the better I think their chances are of believing or continuing to believe that they can win.
Oh, absolutely, Mike. A team may come out and may talk pretty big, but you never really know how they are mentally until the game starts. Then when the game gets going, if they get down 10, 15 points right away, then that really may take the wind out of their sails.
Abdelnaby and John Smith in for the first time. Look at this. 5 minutes to go. It's tied between Providence and Virginia as Duke takes the 6-4 lead. Pretty good first-round games, and we probably had the upset of the tournament so far right here with Siena winning this afternoon in Greensboro.
Well, that Providence-Virginia matchup is just a great one for the first round. Mazik throws that one away. Really, that game could be a regional final almost.
Yeah.
Those are two real good programs from two real good leagues. One thing that Cy Alexander's team cannot do in this ball game is give Duke any extra opportunities, and so they really have to cut down on the turnovers.
They've already turned it over 4 times. The Blue Devils only have 1 in the first 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Ala Abdelnaby makes it an 8-4 game. More height off the bench for Mike Krzyzewski. Gilmore gets it outside to Caldwell. Mazik lost it on the way down the lane. 5th turnover already. Hubert Davis in the game for Duke. Excuse me, Brian Davis. 3-point shot, John Smith. There's also a foul. Let's see if the basket counts.
The foul, I think, is against Steve Mazik.
Foul before the shot. Number 14, Arthur Caldwell, is the first.
No basket.
That's a pretty good way to defend the 3-point shot. It's just to foul somebody. The foul was against number 14, Arthur Caldwell. Let's see if it doesn't help. Duke drills that one. And that was one of the big problems the Duke Blue Devils had in the ACC tournament title game on Sunday, is they couldn't buy a 3-point basket, but they've jumped out here.
They're up 11-4. This is Caldwell. Gets it over to Eric Jeter. Their scorer from the outside does not get the roll. Follow shot is good by Travis Williams, an excellent 6th man who was the MVP of their conference tournament.
Boy, did Eric Jeter get up on that jump shot or what?
Yeah. Jeter averages 15 points a game. They need some scoring from him outside.
Nice
Great
pass.
Yes. Henderson couldn't get the shot. Abdelnaby fights for the rebound, out of bounds to Duke. Just an unbelievable passer. First, it amazes you that he can see the opening, and second, it amazes you he can get the ball in.
You do enough games that involve Danny Ferry, and you just find yourself talking about him all the time.
Snyder got caught up and tried to dump it into Smith. Bad pass. This one is ahead to Jeter, and Jeter converts. 11-8. South Carolina State back to within 3.
And that was not an easy shot at all by Eric Jeter. He had to sort of spin around Quinn Snyder.
Ferry working for position underneath. Almost a 5-second count on Smith. Cy Alexander up, trying to urge on his team. Snyder had it knocked out of his hand. Good defensive play by Jeter.
You can see even at the guard positions, Mike, Duke with the height advantage, they're trying to post up inside.
There's a timeout on the floor. 14:27 to go in the half. Duke 11, South Carolina State 8. 14:27 to go in the first half. Duke by 3 over prohibitive underdog South Carolina State. And the Bulldogs have already turned it over 5 times. It's really hurt them because Duke has scored 7 points off of those turnovers.
The reason Duke is such a high percentage shooting team, Mike, is because they generate so much offense with their defense. They use that defense to create turnovers and get easy opportunities.
Quinn Snyder, Brian Davis, Danny Ferry. Here's a turnover to South Carolina State. Caldwell, nice pass back to Mazik. Mazik hits the bucket. Offensive foul on Mazik.
That's just a great defensive play by Brian Davis. It is very difficult for Duke to operate against the South Carolina State pressure. Ferry falls down. Now watch Davis force Caldwell to give up the ball and then get back and get in perfect position against Mazik. That's a tremendous defensive play by that young man.
Freshman out of Bladensburg, Maryland, did a great job. Abdelnaby is held as they tried to feed the ball in to him. Mack was the guy who got him. McNeese State, much closer than anyone would have expected against Illinois. Virginia leading Providence with 3 minutes to go. Richard Morgan already has 29. Obviously a hot night for Morgan. And UNLV leading Idaho at the half in a really low-scoring game in the West.
Quinn Snyder once again gets the ball inside against Gilmore and is able to stick it in the basket.
Lead is up to 5.
And dribble the ball inside.
Jumper outside by Gilmore. Got his own rebound. Follow won't go. And the foul will go against the Blue Devils inside. Looked like Leitner reached in.
Well, that's a foul that you get against a big guy inside, but the guy who's really responsible is Quinn Snyder. He does not block Gilmore out, and the ball goes right back to Gilmore, and then Leitner's the guy that ends up reaching in and getting the foul. But if Quinn Snyder blocks out his man, that never happens.
Gilmore, 76% free throw shooter. There's a good look at Leitner, the freshman. Mike Krzyzewski had tremendous praise for his inside game already in his first season. Free throw good by Gilmore.
It'll be very interesting to see the Duke Blue Devils next season without Danny Ferry and Quinn Snyder. Of course, that's the way of the world in college athletics.
Yeah.
But they've been such mainstays, Ferry in particular. It'll be interesting to see what the Duke team is like next year.
Ferry, when he first came to this team, a team that was loaded with talent, people like Johnny Dawkins, was a role player and very good at it, as you might expect.
Oh, nice catch.
Leitner put it home. That was a great grab. Leitner with his first two. It's 15-10 Blue Devils.
You can see that Duke is trying to throw the ball over top of the South Carolina defense any opportunity that they get.
Williams, nice move inside, then he missed. Knocked away by Henderson, but retrieved by South Carolina State. The shot won't go. And Ferry with a rebound.
South Carolina State doing a nice job on the offensive boards, Mike. They just are trying to force the ball up against those big Duke players inside and not having much luck.
Snyder tried to get it to Leitner. Good recovery in there by Jeter, knocked it away.
Well, Coach Cy Alexander is now going to see if he can do anything about this height difference. That's George Polk, 7-footer for the Bulldogs.
230 pounds.
Coming off a broken leg.
Snyder for 3. Air ball. Here comes Caldwell on the run to Jeter. Back to Caldwell, blocking on Quinn Snyder.
No, it's going to be a charge against Jeter, Mike.
I'm sorry, they pointed at Snyder.
And I think a charge is a pretty good call on this play. Watch Snyder. Again, he forces Caldwell to give up the ball way out front and then has the time to step over and get in front of Jeter. That's a good defensive play. If you're Caldwell, you've got to make sure that Snyder is coming to you, and if he's going to drop off, then you drive all the way to the basket.
Bulldogs have already committed 7 fouls with 12 minutes and 47 seconds to go in the first half. Snyder goes to the line for the 1-and-1. Snyder misses again. Here comes Jeter on the run, 2-on-2. He'll take it in himself. The
nice
tip is
tip.
good. Who got it?
It's Travis Williams that got the tip, Mike.
15-12. Williams been very good for them coming off the bench. Henderson had it blocked by Polk. He'll get up the foul. Now, Polk, they can't expect to get much time out of him.
No, he was only cleared on Monday to even start working out again.
They've won 6 straight games. Look at the record since January 5th. Mack in field goal percentage and rebounding, the leader in the MEAC. And Williams, as we told you, came off the bench to win the tournament MVP award.
He had 24 points and 11 rebounds in a tight victory against Florida A&M. Mazik had 18 points and 9 boards in that game. So South Carolina State has a little bit of depth because Mack was in foul trouble in that ball game. Henderson
hits the free throw. He's got 4. Danny Ferry will get his first rest, and John Smith goes to the bench. See a little scar on Ferry's cheek. That's a memento from the ACC tournament.
That's what you call a battle scar, and I don't know that Danny Ferry would consider that little.
The 17-12.
Sort of starts over at his nose and runs back behind his ear. Duke staying in the man-to-man defense. That's what both teams have shown the entire game, and Snyder just giving Gilmore all he wants.
Williams, nice pass to Polk. The big guy can't get it home, and then he'll pick up the foul on the other end.
Again, I think that even Polk at 7 feet is a little intimidated by Duke's size inside. They're expecting the big guys to come with the block.
Gave the foul to Travis Williams, 24 instead of Polk. Final four twice in the last 3 years. Duke has a chance to do it again, and they're forcing almost 21 turnovers a game, and they have already forced South Carolina State into several, 6 so far.
And I think the one thing that's a disadvantage for South Carolina State right now, Mike, is that Duke is already shooting the 1-and-1.
Duke has only committed 3 team fouls. Leitner goes out. Abdel Nabi is back in. And it's 18-12 Blue Devils. Smith hits them both.
He takes his time there, doesn't
he? Yes, he does. 12:07 and counting. First half. 19-12 Duke over South Carolina State.
Boy, Bricky right in Caldwell's face, and it doesn't phase him a bit. He misses the shot, but he gets it right to the board.
Williams' offensive rebound had it blocked by Bricky. This is Caldwell offensive rebound. He walked.
Again, South Carolina State with their quickness and their jumping ability really causing the Duke Blue Devils some problems on the board. Here, as Caldwell penetrates by, he forces his teammate, he forces Duke to come and help out, and then Abdel Nabi and Bricky can't control it. Bricky with the block, but there's South Carolina State. What good, quick jumpers inside.
Smith double teamed, had it knocked away on the floor, then kick it out to Gilmore.
Boy, that's a nice play by Williams.
Caldwell. Let's see if the basket counts. It does. The foul is on Henderson.
And Mike Krzyzewski is irate. I don't think he's arguing the foul call, but I think he's asking how can that be a good basket.
I'm sure that's what he's asking.
First 14 foul.
Caldwell going to get by Henderson. Sort of gets caught flat-footed. Caldwell jukes him and goes to the basket. The foul call was just as Caldwell turned the corner, and that's Mike Krzyzewski's complaint. Caldwell's going to get the basket and go to the line for 1.
66% free throw shooter, has a chance to cut the lead to 4. And the Bulldogs hanging around in the vicinity. Ball State, a team that has had such a brilliant season, leading Pitt by 11 in the first half.
They go into the tournament 27-2, Mike.
Ferry back in the game, double clutch, got it over Polk, but the foul will be on Travis Williams, his second.
As Duke continues to punch the ball inside, I think we'll see the fouls mount for the South Carolina State Bulldogs, simply because they're really in a quandary about what to do. You play in front of Ferry, they lob it over the top as they did right there. You play behind him, then he's able to catch the ball and turn and shoot over you. So I think the solution to that is you got to put so much pressure on the guards they can't find him inside.
But the only way you could be critical of Danny Ferry, he's a 76% free throw shooter, is as a sophomore, he was an 84% free throw shooter, the best in the conference. So it's almost nice to find something where he is human.
Well, and it's nice if you're Danny Ferry, if the only criticism you make is that's all he can do, shoot 76% from the line.
Gilmore, nice double clutch, can't get it to go. Polk had a hand on it, knocked out of bounds. It's out to South Carolina State.
Now again, with that penetration, Mike, the Duke defense reacts naturally to the penetration. They come to the ball to help out, and that gives South Carolina State some lanes to run at the offensive board, and they've taken good advantage of that so far.
Williams tries to put it back outside. Intercepted ahead to Henderson. And Coach Cy Alexander really upset with his team for mishandling the basketball.
You just can't dribble it inside against Duke.
Virginia with a minute 36 to go leads Providence by 1. What a game, 96-95. And this is a travel on Jeter. They turned it over again.
That Virginia-Providence game, Mike, may be one of those games that if it's played in the regional finals or the Final Four or something, will be remembered as one of the all-time great games. Yeah. But in the first round, it's going to be forgotten very quickly.
South Carolina State has turned it over 10 times. in less than 10 minutes of play. And here's a Duke turnover, their 5th. Caldwell pulls up. Got it.
Mike, and despite those 10 turnovers, they're still within 5 points of the Duke Blue Devils, and I think the statement that you made before, the longer they stay in the game, the more confidence with which they'll play.
Abdelnaby got behind Polk and a nice feed to him.
Travis Williams wasn't over to help out. He's so conscious of trying to contain Danny Ferry that Abdelnaby was open.
24-17 Blue Devils. We've hit the 10-minute mark in the first half. Williams got the roll. But Travis Williams, a sophomore, quite a leaper and a good-looking ball player. Ferry's got that three-point ability right through the hands of Abdelnaby. Snyder couldn't save it. Kubek will come in for the first time. Bricky will come back in for Duke. We'll see them. Right now, there's a timeout on the court. 9:44 to go in the half. Duke 24, South Carolina State 19. The NCAA would like to know what you think about the three-point lane. Does it remain, or three-point line, rather, stay the same at 19.9, move back to the international distance at 21, or move back to the pro distance at 23.4? Those are the phone numbers to call. It'll cost you 60 cents a call to get your opinion.
South Carolina State only shooting 39% in the ball game. Boy, Williams, every time he gets it in there, he's looking.
Mazik missed from outside. Snyder.
Oh!
Kubek to Abdelnaby. Turnaround won't go. Ferry kept it alive and had it stuffed. Foul's going to be a belief on Polk. He gets his money's worth. South Carolina State doing the job on the boards.
And Mike, a lot of those are offensive rebounds there. You can see right there. And again, we talked about that a little bit before. The quickness of South Carolina State, their ability to penetrate, draws the defense and creates those offensive rebounding lanes. That's why they're still in the ball game, shooting only 39%.
But they get all the offensive rebounds they want. If they keep turning it over at this rate, they're not going to win it. Ferry misses again, highly unusual. He's missed 2 out of 3. But he may never miss again. 25-19. Ferry is such a superb player. Snyder on Caldwell. Jeter got caught inside and knocked out of bounds by Quinn Snyder. South Carolina State tends to get themselves in trouble with that penetration.
Well, they get in there and all of a sudden there's a bunch of big guys in there. That time you could really see Jeter is like 5'11" and he got trapped inside against Kubek. That's Caldwell right there filling up the three-pointer.
25-22. Caldwell is a 45% three-point shooter. Snyder after the screen for Ferry to Kubek. Air ball by Kubek. Boy, he's had a tough shooting year.
Well, he shot that baby a long way. You hear the South Carolina State fans giving the air ball chant made famous by the folks at Duke.
Bricky, with that athletic ability, had it tipped away, knocked out of bounds out to Duke. Kubek, at the start of the season, his first 17 three-pointers, he made 1.
Mike,
things have gone a lot better since then. Virginia, under 30 seconds, leading Providence by 1. Abdelnaby goes to the hoop.
Mike, and for the Duke Blue Devils, I think that they do a better job in this particular game passing it inside without penetration. It's better for them so far when they've been able to spread the floor and create some room for their big guys.
Williams against Ferry, got it into the lane, forced it up. Missed. Polk had it, lost it. Ferry took it away.
Well, as we say, he has not played since early in January. Yeah. And it's just got to be tough to get your timing.
Abdelnaby against Polk. If you run into him, you're not going anywhere. Very loose, great play. Knew he had to get it up in a hurry. Did it with a little jump hook. 29-22. Blue Devils, 7:54 to go first half. Caldwell's done a good job at the point. As you pointed out earlier, he was a guard before they moved him to forward. Bank shot by Mazik won't go. Tipped outside. Kubek has it.
South Carolina State got a couple of tips on that one, Mike. They never really controlled the ball, but they were right there on the board.
Ricky leans into one, doesn't get it. Kubek had it, knocked it out of bounds. Snyder will go out. Henderson checks back in.
Always wondered about Robert Bricky, Mike. His nickname is Brick, and I would think that'd be a terrible nickname for a basketball player.
Yeah.
Get a look at Quinn Snyder taking a seat on the bench. That's Steve Mazik. He's going to get a blow for the Bulldogs.
Duke has really done the damage inside.
And that's pretty much as you would expect. That's a nice pass inside, and Ferry's going to get the foul. What a good pass by Jeter. Didn't give Ferry time to battle around in front, and Mack gets himself a good wide base inside.
Mack 6'6", 215 out of Moncks Corner, South Carolina. Last couple of years, he has simply been a dominant rebounder in the MEAC. Gilmore goes baseline, double pump. Seems to like that shot, hasn't made one. Out of bounds to the Blue Devils.
If he keeps going in there, his coach is going to develop an aversion to that shot.
Cy Alexander, this program had 9 straight losing seasons before he showed us 2 years ago. Went from a losing season to the championship in only 2 seasons. Abdelnaby off balance and got it anyway. He has 8. It's 31-22.
And he really looks confident with that shot inside, Mike. You know, he's playing against smaller people, and lots of times that gives a guy his size more confidence, and he's just turning and letting it go.
Biggest lead of the ball game. Jeter against Kubek. This is Gilmore. Now Caldwell. Double clutch by Caldwell. It won't go. Good offensive rebound by Rodney Mack, and he's fouled.
And I think Mike Krzyzewski is really irritated with the Blue Devils with their lack of offensive rebounding. Once again, the penetration. Ferry has to come and help out. Look at the position that Mack gets inside. The foul is going to be against Kubek. Well, I guess it's Abdelnaby who gets the foul. I believe they gave
it to Abdelnaby.
Now they were both in there hammering.
Yeah. John Smith steps in front of Williams, knocks it away. Another turnover for South Carolina State. It's been a nightmare of a first half for them. Great pass from Snyder to Henderson.
Jeter just lost his man. Jeter trying to get turned on defense. Cy Alexander up calling a timeout. The Duke Blue Devils are beginning to pull away, Mike, and those turnovers really starting to bite.
Alexander said he's seen enough of this. 6:20 to go. First half of play. Duke 33, South Carolina State 22. 33-22, Duke over South Carolina State, 6:20 to go. First half of play. South Carolina State with 11 turnovers so far in the game. That is the final. Virginia over Providence, 100-97. Gilmore brings the ball up against Snyder. Inside to Williams over Ferry. Ferry gets the rebound.
Mike, Duke has forced those turnovers, and they have taken advantage of them. South Carolina State, when they force a turnover or get an offensive rebound, they haven't converted those opportunities with quite the same frequency, and that's why they're behind in the ball game.
Gilmore to Caldwell.
Two teams getting at one another, though.
Yes, they are.
South Carolina State does not seem to be the least little bit in awe.
Ferry is out on Gilmore right now.
Mack really working inside against Leitner.
Shot clock is down to 15. Danny Ferry draws the charge.
Well, actually, that's Leitner, Mike.
I'm sorry, Leitner. And the drive was by Eric Jeter. He'll pick up the offensive foul.
Of course, Duke really works on drawing the charge. Leitner is going to get in there, and I don't know that he particularly got set that time.
I don't either. This telecast presented by authority of the NCAA. Any use of this program without written consent is prohibited. The announcers for this program have been approved and contracted by NCAA Productions. I don't know if that was intended for Leitner or Ferry, but it hit Leitner square in the hands, and he put it in.
Well, you had two guys all alone under the basket, so either one didn't make any difference. Ferry couldn't get it, but Leitner could.
35-22. The lead has grown to 13, the largest margin Duke has enjoyed. Nice baseline drive that time by Arthur Caldwell.
And I think that's a big hoop for the Bulldogs, Mike. They really need to try to stay close in this basketball game.
And of course, the crowd here in Greensboro, predominantly Blue Devil fans, they'd like to keep them out of it, too. Henderson, nice pass to Ferry.
Well, that time Duke created the inside opening with the penetration.
First half score, Ball State continues to lead Pittsburgh by 11. Here, Duke is up by 13. Henderson knocks the ball out of bounds. Mike Krzyzewski, nice little reaction as that one whistled by his ear.
Well, as long as it's whistling by his ear on a defensive play by his team, not on an offensive play by his team, I think it's all right. Heck, on a defensive play, could probably even bounce off his forehead and he wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Duke with 15 points off those 12 South Carolina State turnovers. Williams wants the ball and gets it. Squares up on Ferry. Nice move to get by the All-American, then blocked by Abdelnaby. Ricky got a hand on it, knocked out of bounds, out to Duke.
You can see the intimidation factor that the Duke size creates inside. You know how discouraging for Travis Williams to make a nice move, get around 1 6'10" guy, and there's another one standing there waiting for you.
Hardly seems fair, does it? Snyder works into the lane, and Quinn Snyder with a nice rolling jump shot. It's 4 minutes to go. It's 39-24.
It's important that in a basketball game like this, you take advantage of what the other team gives you, and Snyder has really been taking the ball to the hoop tonight.
Ricky Bird into the ball game for the first time. He drives the baseline, gets the foul from Abdelnaby.
Once again, we see the quickness of the Bulldogs. This time Bird penetrates around Henderson right into the middle there. Ferry trying to take the charge, but Abdelnaby gets the foul coming over the back.
2 on the junior from Bloomfield, New Jersey. And Bird will go to the free throw line. He's an excellent defensive player. Right now they need a little offense from him. Hits the first, he'll get another. 39-25. You have to feel that Cy Alexander would love to get it down under 10 before the half, if he could. Bird misses the second, and Bricky clears.
Cy Alexander is up. I think he thought Phil Henderson was in the lane a little early on that particular play.
Henderson trying to get by Bird, spins around him and hits it. Duke playing very confidently on offense.
The guards are much larger than their opponents. They're dribbling the ball inside, turning and shooting those 7-8 footers.
Good job by Bird to get it to Jeter, or get it to Gilmore. He missed, but the follow for Rodney Mack.
Now you see the Bulldogs trying to exert some pressure in the backcourt, and I think that's one of the things that they need to do.
41-27. Abdelnaby to Ferry, who was being fronted by Travis Williams at 6'6".
If Duke is going to move the ball and move themselves like that, Mike, there's very little that the Bulldogs are going to be able to do. In a game that was billed as a matchup between Duke's size and the Bulldogs' quickness, Duke's size at the moment is really telling.
Gilmore unable to get it inside, brings it back out. And here's a foul on Brian Davis reaching in.
And Mike Krzyzewski is really not happy with that particular play. With a 16-point lead and 2 minutes and 42 seconds left in the first half, there's no reason to commit that kind of a foul and put the Bulldogs on the line for a 1-and-1.
Now he wants that defensive pressure that's been forcing all those turnovers, not reaching fouls, and he is going to go over to talk to Brian Davis as he sits down.
Mike Krzyzewski has really done a nice job, Mike, this year with Brian Davis, bringing him along slowly, getting those teaching points when he puts him in the game, when he takes him out of the game. I think Davis could be a big factor in the Duke program in the future.
Gilmore hits the free throw. He's hit all 3 of his trips to the line and has cut the lead to 15. You see he is the best free throw shooter on the ball club. Got the second one. 2:42 to go. The lead's down to 14.
And 129 free throws attempted by your point guard is really an indication of the kind of player that he is, slashing inside, drawing the fouls.
Ricky to Snyder. Henderson tried to get it to Smith, intercepted, bounces off a player's foot, and Smith gets the easy dunk.
Cy Alexander just slaps his hand against his knee. There's nothing you can do about that. That's just a bad break for the Bulldogs.
45-29. Nice Nice pass inside to Mack. Good double pump, and he got the shot. Rodney Mack has 6. Caldwell leading South Carolina State so far with 10. Ferry in the lane, jump hook, missed it. Henderson over the back's going to pick up the foul on that one against Caldwell.
Well, that's a break for the Bulldogs. Ricky Bird, who's supposed to be blocking out Phil Henderson, stood on the outside and pointed at Henderson, yelled at the referee that he was over Caldwell's back. That's not exactly the best way to keep somebody off the offensive board, but it was effective that time. And Henderson and Bird exchanged words.
Now Henderson clearly guilty on the foul on that one. His second.
That's Daryl Gilmore sitting down on the bench for a rest. There's Phil Henderson, Brian Davis next to him.
Danny Ferry will get a breather too. Duke has been able to get great position, as you pointed out, inside. That time Ferry had like a 6-foot jump hook. You get enough of those shots, you're going to win. Caldwell now with 11 points, and it's 45-32. Cy Alexander, a longtime assistant at Howard, a team that had great success in the MEAC before he moved to South Carolina State. Caldwell in and out on the second one, and Bricky clears. Game clock on your screen. The spread is 13 points as Snyder calls out the play. Leitner was open, tried to get it there. The ball was tipped.
South Carolina State in zone that time, Mike. It looked like Duke didn't really react very well to the defensive switch.
Travis Williams being guarded well by John Smith. Caldwell open. Bricky got out there in a hurry. Offensive foul, and Bricky went right to the floor with him. As you saw, Ball State continues to lead Pittsburgh.
But Pitt's closing the gap.
Cy Alexander really upset about that last call.
Well, that's 4 offensive fouls that have now been called against South Carolina State. So that's not only 4 fouls, but 4 turnovers.
Yeah. And give them 14 turnovers in the first half. Smith and Ferry exchanging it outside. They tried the alley-oop to Kubek. Got caught up inside. Ferry for 3. Bingo.
Well, there's just nothing that you can do with that.
I mean, whoever's guarding him is so happy when he goes outside, then he buries the 3-point shot.
Well, the thing is, most guys who are big enough to guard Danny Ferry, usually when their guy goes out that far, they just leave him, and that's a hard habit to break.
Mack with a turnaround jumper. Big bucket there. 48-34. 38 seconds left in the half, and Duke will play for the last shot.
Mack continues to operate effectively down inside. He now has 8 points. South Carolina State showing that 1-2-2 zone. It looks like they might try to trap the ball if it goes to the corner, but Duke is just going to move it around. The shot clock's off. Wait for the final shot of the first half.
Usually now is when they run the play that they want as it hits 10. Snyder leans into one, didn't get it. Bricky almost got it. Snyder got it back, forced it up. He's fouled. Foul on Eric Jeter, who caught him on the wrist.
Robert Bricky, you can see Cy Alexander wanting to know just what do you have to do out there, but Bricky kept that ball alive, snuck inside for the offensive rebound. Jeter now with 3 personal fouls. Jeter's only got 2 points. He's the second leading scorer on this team. He averages 15 a game, so Duke has done a pretty good defensive job against him.
Snyder makes the second. The Blue Devils will have hit 50 in the first half, and Snyder already has 9 here in the first half. Only 1 out of 3. He missed his first 2 free throws. Spins out on him, and that's the end of the first half. So the Blue Devils struggled a little bit, then moved out over South Carolina State. At the end of the first half, the score is Duke 49, South Carolina State 34. Duke at the half leading South Carolina State 49-34. We're in Greensboro, North Carolina for the opening round of the NCAA in the Eastern region. And I think the story of the first half, South Carolina State turning the ball over 13 times, Dan, and doing it very early in the game. And we mentioned several times that it was Duke's height advantage that was having giving them such a boost inside, but it's very talented height, too.
Oh, it's not like Duke's height is these big plotters that can't move anywhere. Duke, while many people criticize the Blue Devils for being a step slow, I think maybe against a team that has size and quickness like at Georgetown, the Blue Devils might be having more problems than they are here. But South Carolina State has been creating some problems with their quickness, but the Duke defensive pressure has just been too much for them so far. And, of course, when you talk about Duke, you got to talk about Danny Ferry. It's not only that great defensive pressure, but Ferry is always there and always available, and he once again has had a very fine first half. And the thing with Danny Ferry, it's not only his inside game, but it's his outside game. Here he drills a three-pointer late in the first half. Ferry has also been able to operate very effectively inside. Here you can see he gets in front of Rodney Mack and lays it in. Abdul Nabi has scored well inside as well. He's got 8 inside. Henderson has 11 for Duke. Snyder has 9, and most of the Snyder and Henderson points have come inside as well against the smaller Bulldog guards.
Caldwell is the only player in double figures for South Carolina State. He has 11 points. They obviously have some ability. Sometimes it looked like they were forcing things. They wanted to go inside. We saw maybe 8 or 9 double clutch moves to try to make a basket. That's not a high percentage shot.
No, it's not a high percentage shot. And what they're doing, Mike, is they're taking advantage of their quickness to get to the basket, but then that's where Duke's height advantage takes over, and they got to make funny shots that, even though they're short shots, they're very, very difficult ones. And so Duke has stretched out to this lead.
Cy Alexander has a problem with his ball club. They're down by 15 at the half. We'll be back with more of our halftime show from Greensboro, North Carolina in just a moment.
Welcome back. We're at halftime at the Greensboro Coliseum in the first round of the East Region. The final ball game of the day, the Duke Blue Devils with a 15-point lead at halftime over the South Carolina State Bulldogs. At halftime, our guest is the commissioner of the Atlantic Coast Conference, Gene Corrigan. Mr. Corrigan, thanks for joining us. And this arena, the Greensboro Coliseum, is certainly one that has seen a large portion of the history of the Atlantic Coast Conference.
It sure has, Dan. You know, for years the ACC was played in Raleigh, and then the coaches kept talking about it, and rightly so, let's find a neutral court. And we moved down to Charlotte for a couple of years while they expanded this to just about its present size, and we've been here almost every other year since. And it's a great old building. It really is. It has a lot of memories for us. Certainly for you, too.
Yeah, it sure does. This is where every Atlantic Coast Conference tournament that I was involved in as a player, we were here. Let's talk a little bit about the NCAA tournament, particularly with 6 teams from the Atlantic Coast Conference. That must make you very happy that we can get that many, or you can get that many teams in the tournament. And of course today so far Atlantic Coast Conference teams are 2-0.
Yeah, I had a chance to watch Clemson. I was very impressed with their performance out there. That was a big win for them. And Virginia beating Providence too. I think that's good. And you know, if Duke can continue to play, I tell you, I'm very impressed with South Carolina State. I don't know about you, but their quickness and, you know, what they're trying to do, they're a well-coached team.
Well, it was interesting in the press conference yesterday. The South Carolina State Bulldogs seemed to think that the Blue Devils needed to be more concerned about them than the other way around, and they've come out very aggressive. It's been an entertaining game.
Yeah, it has been. Exactly. But this, Dan, you're talking about the NCAA. We're delighted to have, we feel very fortunate to have 6 teams in there. And, you know, so far today, it's been pretty good for us.
Well, thanks very much for joining us at halftime, Mr. Corrigan. We're at halftime at the Greensboro Coliseum. It's Duke 49, South Carolina State 34, and we'll be back right after this. We're at halftime. Duke leads South Carolina State 49-34. 1988 was Dick Schultz's first full year as the NCAA's executive director. Schultz spoke recently with Frank Bowl of WDAF-TV in Kansas City about a wide range of topics. Let's take a look now at part of that interview.
You spent a good portion of the first year and a half traveling the country, campuses all across the nation. What kind of feedback are you getting from them?
There are a lot of issues out there involving intercollegiate athletics, the structure of the NCAA, the integrity issues, everything else that goes along. And there's a real mood to make some positive change. And that's the exciting thing about it, that people are ready to do things differently. They're ready to do some refining of everything that we do. The only catch is that when you take people well, what are the changes you'd like to see? You have about as many ideas as to what that change should be as number of people you talk to. And I think that's to be expected with the great diversity that we have in this organization.
What kind of message are you taking to those people?
I asked for a meeting with the chief executive officer, either the president or chancellor, a representative of their governing board or members, their athletics director, their faculty representative. And the message that I'm bringing them is that the NCAA has tried for years to legislate integrity, and that's not possible. Our rules will help, but if we're going to have complete integrity, it starts right here. It's your institution, and we need a commitment to integrity from the governing board to the chancellor or president to the athletic directors to the coaches, and that we can solve that problem very quickly if we can get each individual institution to make that commitment.
We've been hearing now a lot about the rules and regulations of the NCAA being broken. Is cheating more prevalent now than before?
Well, first of all, the public perception is that everybody cheats, and that's not the case. And I think because of the rash of penalties that came down in December and early January, the impression is that we have more serious problems today than we've ever had. Actually, the converse is true. Our enforcement staff is up to full force, and they've been making a major effort to clean up investigations. All the penalties that you have seen in the last 60 days are things that were under investigation for at least the last 3 years. They don't represent what's going on in college athletics today.
There's been a lot of talk about perhaps banning beer ads in future telecasts of NCAA championship events. Where does that stand right now?
Actually, we've never said that we were going to ban them, but we said we were going to take a look at it, and this is not a new topic. We've been concerned about this for a number of years, and even in past negotiations, there's been attempts and successful attempts to reduce the amount of beer commercials that are contained. Right now, in our current contract, which runs through the 1990 Final Four, there is a maximum of 90 seconds per hour allowed for beer commercials. We would hope that we can reduce that number. We'd like to eventually be able to eliminate them or at least reduce them to moderation or educational type announcements. We're very concerned about the message that might be going out to young people. Beer is not an illegal drug if it's used by people of legal drinking age, but it becomes an illegal drug for those who are not of drinking age. And the bare facts are that about 1/3 of the college students now are below the legal drinking age, and thousands of high school students and junior high school students and younger that watch our telecasts are. And we're really concerned about sending out mixed messages.
The teams are back on the court in the Greensboro Coliseum. Duke leads South Carolina State at halftime, 49-34. The Blue Devils behind 13 points and 7 rebounds by Danny Ferry. Caldwell leads the way for South Carolina State. We will be right back with more halftime activities after this.
Heavily favored Duke, leading it by 15 at the half. Here are the first half stats. Look at the difference in the shooting percentage. 62.5 to 38.7. And the turnovers, 13 for South Carolina State. And Dan Bonner, they had a lot of those turnovers early when Duke grabbed the lead.
That's right. Duke really used those turnovers to punch out to the big lead. And then with that big lead, they can be very comfortable in getting the ball inside. And that's why their shooting percentage is as high as it is.
Caldwell has had the good first half for South Carolina State. And look at the stats on Danny Ferry. 13.7 rebounds, very balanced scoring attack, and they have done so well inside just like that.
Well, even before everybody gets settled into their seats for the start of the second half, Leitner gets the basket for Duke. The Blue Devils going right to the weak spot.
51-34. Mack trying to work inside, lost the ball.
Leitner diving for the ball out of bounds. It's a good thing he didn't get it because it had been South Carolina State's ball. I think the first couple minutes of this second half are going to be extremely important for South Carolina State, Mike. If you're going to get back in a ball game like this, you'd like to make a run early.
Good pass to Leitner, wide open for the 4-footer.
And 2 quick baskets by Christian Leitner don't do anything to help the Bulldog cause.
Biggest lead of the game, 53-34. Leitner has 8. Nice shot by Gilmore.
And once again, that's a pretty tough shot by Gilmore, flying through there. He beat Snyder easily out front, but he saw the big guys coming. Made a very nice shot.
Ferry, the skip pass across the defense. Snyder for 3. Leitner kept it alive, but the rebound goes to Williams. Caldwell tripped by Quinn Snyder, who went for the steal, and Snyder comes up limping. Caldwell still down.
This is a tough play for Quinn Snyder because the ball's just not far in front enough of Gilmore to let Snyder get it, but Snyder had to go after it, and at the last minute I think he realized what kind of trouble he was in.
It's one of those oh no plays right in the middle. You know you've made a mistake and there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, he actually tripped him. That was a pretty good play.
Caldwell tries the no-look pass, and it's picked off ahead to Bricky. Showtime. There aren't many that can dunk it with Robert Bricky.
And Mike Duke has scored 3 buckets in the second half, all from point-blank range. 2 layups and a dunk. It's going to be hard for the Bulldogs to come back if Duke is going to do that.
First 2 for Robert Bricky.
Mack, I think, is going to get called for a foul pushing off. No, it's Ferry who's going to get the foul.
2 on Danny Ferry.
Ricky really enjoys his dunks. That time Caldwell just was a little too fancy on the pass. Bricky up and slamming it through.
I think Duke really needs Robert Bricky to do well in this tournament. He is their most athletic player.
I think Bricky would be a big lift for him. I think if Quinn Snyder could start hitting those 3-point shots, I think that would make Duke a much better team. And the Blue Devils, of course, are looking for both things from both players.
Gilmore missed the bomb. Snyder calls out the play. Abdelnaby and Leitner both want the ball inside, and here's a travel as Bricky was looking inside, couldn't get him the ball.
The Bulldogs were back into that 1-2-2 zone, Mike.
Checking on some other scores, UNLV continues to lead Idaho, this time by 8.
They're the Vandals, aren't they?
That's I believe that's correct. Abdelnaby will pick up the foul as Travis Williams, a good-looking sophomore, goes to the basket. 3 on Abdelnaby.
What a great nickname.
Yeah. My favorite is still the Purple Paladins. I think that's for Furman. That does it all.
Well, I think the best one is Sweetbriar College, the women's college in Virginia. They're the Vixens.
Oh, yeah. Which team is the Fighting Chrysanthemums? I can never remember. I believe that's a junior college out in the Midwest.
Another Virginia women's college, Mary Baldwin, is the Fighting Squirrels.
Well, we get carried away here. Williams has 7. Williams hits them both, 55-38. Duke trying to apply the knockout punch early.
South Carolina State again trying to spread the defense. Maybe trap the ball in the corner.
Snyder wide open. Henderson gets him the ball across to Bricky. Foul will go against Leitner, who hammers the ball into the stands, and he'll be hit with the technical, and Mike Krzyzewski is going to take him out of the ball game right away. Not a smart play by the freshman.
Well, you just don't need that kind of a reaction, and Mike Krzyzewski likes his players to be a little bit more disciplined than this. That's a foul. He was over the back. That's one of those things, you slam that ball and you hope it doesn't come down, because you know if it comes down, you got the tee.
So Leitner will come out of the ball game after committing his 3rd foul.
The guy like Leitner, he knows as soon as he does it that that's a mistake.
Daryl Gilmore, who is 4 out of 4 from the line tonight, will shoot the technical. 1 shot. Has it, and they'll have possession. 55-39. And they'll get it back into Gilmore, picked up man-to-man by Snyder. Mack really working hard. So is Ferry trying to deny him inside. Gilmore, another tough shot hanging in the lane, and Henderson skies the rebound.
Quinn Snyder that time that was right in his face. Gilmore did not beat Quinn on that particular occasion.
John Smith for 3, in and out. Tip won't go, and the foul underneath. Looks like it'll go on Abdelnaby.
And it looks like it's on Phil Henderson, Mike. Everybody from Duke is in there poking at the ball.
And And it is on Henderson. That is his third. Would have been the fourth on Abdelnaby. He has 3. Leitner has 3.
Duke looked like they were in a position to blow the game open, Mike, but now, just as South Carolina did in the first half, Duke picking up an awful lot of fouls early in the second half.
They have already committed 5 team fouls. South Carolina State has none, and there's a runner by Mazik. And all at once, it's back to 14. Only the 4th point for Stephen Mazik, who averages over 11 a game. Abdelnaby goes to the baseline and travel. So Duke is giving South Carolina State the opportunity to get back in that game, and right now they're taking advantage of it.
And that's something that Cy Alexander's ball club did not do in the first half, particularly early in the game. Mike Krzyzewski's Blue Devils gave them a lot of opportunities. They weren't able to convert, but they have converted the last couple times down. And they can make it as close as they've been in a long time.
Caldwell won't go. Mack and Mazik fought for the rebound, and Mazik came out with it. Mack really wants the ball inside, and they have not done a good job of getting it to him.
Danny Ferry's working so hard on defense, and the Duke Blue Devils putting such good pressure on the ball outside. Ferry's going to get that foul. That's 3.
And Caldwell hits it down the lane and will try to make it a 3-point play.
Bricky goes for the steal out front. Caldwell, seeing the opening, takes advantage. Ferry not able to get there in time.
4 Duke starters have 3 fouls.
Bricky's lucky he didn't get the foul called against him out front. You know, these guys aren't intimidated at all, Mike. They've been driving in there, getting their shots blocked and having to alter their shots, but they stay right after it.
Caldwell has 14 points, and it's an 11-point lead for Duke. Crowd getting a little anxious. South Carolina State has scored the last 8 points. Ricky wanted the alley-oop from Ferry behind the zone.
And this zone has been very, very active, and Quinn Snyder throws it away, and Mike Krzyzewski's asking for a timeout.
Coach K wants to talk to his club with 15:30 to go in the game. It's Duke 55. South Carolina State closes the gap.
Mike, the Duke Blue Devils have seemingly lost their concentration a little bit here after scoring the first 6 points of the second half. There, Quinn Snyder expecting John Smith to stay in the corner. Smith cuts to the basket. Here, Bricky goes for the steal. The Duke defense just not able to react in time. Caldwell gets to the board for the 3-point play, and the Bulldogs have an opportunity to cut the deficit under double figures.
An 8-0 run for South Carolina State. Duke got the first 6 points of this half. They have not scored since then.
I would imagine that Mike Krzyzewski can be a pretty intense guy in huddle. And the Duke Blue Devils have come out, and they're playing with a bit more intensity on defense, although that's not a very good foul by Quinn Snyder right there.
That's 3 on Snyder. That means Abdelnaby with 3, Leitner with 3, Ferry with 3, Henderson with 3, and Snyder with 3. It could get a little dicey at this point. Excuse me, now they're saying it's 2 on Snyder. Dicey anyway.
Well, here for South Carolina State, they're going to go the last 15 minutes and 18 seconds of this ball game shooting 1-1.
And they have not committed a team foul in this half. So Duke may not get to go to the line very often. And now Gilmore can cut the lead to 9.
So Duke's got to play the tough defense, but every time they foul, South Carolina State's going to have the opportunity to get 2 points.
And 9 seems to be the breaking point. If you're at 9 or less, you have the feeling you can win it.
And this zone defense has been very aggressive, very active, and has really helped South Carolina State.
And look at where Ferry is in this possession, outside. A runner won't go. Here come the Bulldogs. Caldwell. Bricky got away with a hold, and then Bricky gets the block and an offensive foul on Mazik.
That's twice now that Quinn Snyder has broken up a Mazik dunk with a good defensive play. There's Snyder. He's set. Bricky comes in with the block, but that's a great defensive play by Quinn Snyder. You can see Snyder backpedaling once again. South Carolina State passes the ball too early. They commit themselves too early on the fast break. Another real fine defensive play by Quinn Snyder.
If Mazik had just given it back, they'd have had the easy layup.
There you go, Mike.
Henderson in the lane. Basket counts.
Cy Alexander, it's his turn to be upset with the basket counts. Mike Krzyzewski was complaining about a call like that before. But that's a big basket by Phil Henderson. South Carolina State making a determined run at the Blue Devils. In fact, they'd scored 10 points in a row.
Henderson will try to make it a three-point play. He has 13 on the night. And does. 58-46. The lead back to a dozen. 14:46 to go.
And one thing that's been happening is Duke has been coming down and missing, Mike. They haven't been able to get back and set the defense, and South Carolina State is a team that plays very, very well in transition.
They like the up-tempo game, averaging 82.5 points a game.
Now Duke with the zone defense. A little 2-3 zone. They're going to match up out of it.
Williams. Mack wants it inside. They couldn't get it to him, but Williams got it off the miss. Shot won't go, and the foul will go against Ala Abdelnaby. That is his fourth.
And Danny Ferry came pretty close to getting foul number 4. He came over Mack's back and slapped the ball away.
Leitner will come in. Abdelnaby will sit down with 14:18 to go. And Williams will have a chance to go to the free throw line and get it back to 10. If I were a Duke fan, I'd just get the gnawing feeling that those foul problems are going to haunt you down the stretch.
Well, you certainly get the idea that this ball game is not over yet.
Williams out of Columbia, South Carolina. He's hit 2 game-winning shots this year. Has 9 points on the night. And is 3 out of 3 from the free throw line. Very smooth-looking play. Missed that one, however, and missed it badly. I set him up, didn't I?
Well, he still had a smooth stroke. He just didn't shoot it far enough.
It's that 15-foot shot that went 13 and a half. 58-47. Henderson had it knocked away and stolen. A careless pass, and Williams forced the turnover.
Williams reacted very, very well to that pass, Mike. You can't do that unless you've got good quickness, and Williams certainly has that.
Let's see if they can get it to Mack. He's been hungering for the basketball inside.
Well, with the zone defense, Duke ought to be able to cut down on the penetration.
Mazik for 3. Big shot.
And Mazik is one of the best three-point shooters on this ball club. In fact, he was the leading three-point shooter on the ball club until he went in a little slump toward the end of the season.
58-50. Second-seeded Duke leading by only 8. Fight for the basketball. Reach-in foul on South Carolina State. It will be Williams.
Well, now, what Duke is doing right now, Mike, is what they did in the first half, and that is punch the ball inside. That's 2 fouls on Williams. That's why South Carolina State got in foul trouble in the first half, and Duke, against that zone defense, seemingly got away from that for some reason.
Henderson had it inside off the inbounds pass. The lead is back to 10, 13:24 to go.
And that is where the Blue Devils have had most of their success, and I think that's where we'll see them go a lot in the last 13 minutes and 15 seconds of this ball game.
Mike Patrick and Dan Bonner with you from Greensboro, North Carolina. Glad you could join us for the opening round of the NCAA. South Carolina State trying desperately to get back in this game against the second-seeded team in the East.
And this is a good defensive move by Mike Krzyzewski to go to this zone defense, because Duke was really having a tough time in sort of a ragtag kind of game guarding the guys from South Carolina State man-to-man.
The worst record Mike Krzyzewski has had in the last 6 years. This is the worst record, 23-8. He's already surpassed this the year, 24-7. Snyder with a steal, but he stepped out of bounds. And here's the scoring. First and second half, you can see South Carolina State eating back into that lead.
Well, I think this is an important stretch of the game for both teams, Mike. Duke has made the defensive adjustment, and if South Carolina can't adjust itself offensively, then Duke may be able to pull away.
Mazik coming way outside. This is Caldwell, who's had a big ball game. Mazik for 3. Hit the last one. Not this time, though. Bricky got a hand on it, then knocked out of bounds by Williams. Well, I like Travis Williams. Good-looking ball player.
Another reason,
turnovers, yeah.
Another reason why South Carolina State climbing back in the ball game is they haven't turned it over.
And there's a turnover. Gilmore, Snyder trying to stop him, and Snyder once again influenced the miss on the fast break.
Snyder's playing that spot like a goalie, Mike. He's got a couple of saves tonight.
Eddie Jockman got another one. That was a stick save. Pass to Leitner. Missed the shot. The tip is good by Bricky.
What a catch by Leitner. He grabbed that ball with one hand. He missed the shot, but Bricky's right there. But what a catch by Leitner. And boy, Quinn Snyder, Mike, he's taken 3 charges on fast break baskets, and now he breaks up another one.
And what a sequence. That was a 4-point turnaround lead. Could have been cut to 8. Snyder at the other end. Got by Caldwell. He missed, but Leitner follows.
The South Carolina State coaching staff is irate that a kick was not called against Christian Leitner as Duke got the turnover. And just as we talked about how South Carolina State was limiting the turnovers, Duke gets a couple and now is back out to a 14-point lead.
64-50, under 11 and a half minutes to go. Caldwell with a nice fake. Another runner in the lane. Missed it. And a blocking foul will be called against Duke. This one will be picked up by Bricky, only his second.
Duke can't afford a lot of fouls, but Bricky's one guy that's got them to give.
UNLV advances to the second round, beating Idaho 68-56.
See Cy Alexander, he continues to work that sideline for the Bulldogs.
Caldwell goes to the line. 14 points. Another score. Second half, Pitt has taken the lead over Ball State, 47-45. Been some good opening round games. The winner of this game will meet West Virginia on Saturday. The Mountaineers had very little trouble with Tennessee, but weren't terribly impressive doing it.
And the winner of this game will have to play West Virginia at noon on Saturday, Mike, so not a lot of turnaround time.
Bricky gets the pass from Ferry inside.
Do you think there's any possibility that when Mike Krzyzewski called that timeout, he said, get the ball inside? You know, keep it in bounds. Don't throw it in the stands. Get it inside. Williams
mishandles it. Ferry ahead to Bricky. Bricky, what control! He actually hit the rim as he was trying to dunk it, maintain control, and still slammed it through.
I don't know that he didn't have an extra step in there, Mike.
I think he did.
An NBA play.
I think he did. No, NBA, you get 4 steps. And you can palm the ball while you're doing it. Here's the steal by Henderson. This could be the streak that put it away.
Duke with a couple of dunks.
70-52, Cy Alexander trying to stop the momentum. Now, did Bricky walk?
Danny Ferry with the steal. Bricky's going to take the ball. No, I don't think he did.
No, he did a good job. Those were just 2 real big steps. It's 70-52. Blue Devils will be back in a moment. Here's a rundown of today's games in the Midwest. Louisville over Arkansas, Little Rock. Loyola Marymount loses to Arkansas in a track beat, 120-101. Illinois over McNeese State, less than some people expected by 6. And Pitt in the second half, leading Ball State by a couple. We'll update you on the other regions as we go along.
And this zone defense has really helped the Duke Blue Devils. They're on a 10-2 run since they went to the zone.
They're up by 18, and it's a very tough time for South Carolina State. They need a bucket real bad. This is Mazik outside to Caldwell.
And the zone is completely cut down on the penetration by the Bulldogs, Mike, and I'm sure that's why Mike Krzyzewski went to the zone.
Mazik for 3. Didn't get the roll. The tip won't go. Kicked outside to Caldwell.
Boy, Mack really working hard inside. You really have to be impressed with his effort in there.
Caldwell with a 3-pointer.
There's Mack again. He doesn't get it that time. Tips it to Henderson.
Henderson waits for help. 9 minutes, 26 seconds to go in the game. The lead is 18, and Snyder's just going to hold it outside and make him come out after it. Henderson to Ferry, who has not scored in the second half. Really hasn't had to.
It's a great job by Ferry. I think he controlled that ball with his feet intentionally.
It wouldn't surprise me a bit. Shot clock is down to 13 seconds. Ferry for 3. Ouch.
Well, when you get behind Duke, that's always something that's there. If you ever try to climb back into the game, they're just going to start throwing the ball to number 35.
Hey, you had the feeling Cy Alexander was sitting over there and said, well, at least we've held the player of the year to nothing in the second half. Rip. 73-52. Duke with a 21-point lead, 8.5 minutes to go. Their biggest margin of the game. What a quick move by Eric Jeter to get open. Then Williams with a follow. Jeter had an unbelievable first step over there.
As we mentioned, Jeter really not scoring very well in the game, Mike. He's only got 2 points, nothing in the second half, and he came into this ball game as South Carolina State's second leading scorer.
15-4 run. Now make it a 17-4 run for the Blue Devils. And they're icing this one, 75-54, approaching the 8-minute mark.
And with the exception of that Danny Ferry three-pointer that we saw a couple of seconds ago, Mike, everything has been inside. Layups, 2-foot jump shots, and dunks.
Henderson, the leading scorer, he has 20. Mack puts it up with the left hand. Snyder ahead to Henderson. Tipped and stolen by Arthur Caldwell.
Just not quite enough juice on that one. Henderson really got up, or excuse me, Snyder really got up for that rebound.
Jeter way off on that jumper, and Ferry with a rebound.
South Carolina State, Mike, looks like they're running out of gas.
Ferry with 9 rebounds, 16 points, a couple of great passes. A game doesn't go by that he doesn't impress you with 2 or 3 different areas of his play. Smith kicks it back outside. Duke doing a good job just taking some time off the clock. We're down to 7:09.
South Carolina State comes out of that zone. They're back into the man-to-man. They feel like they've got to put some more pressure on the Blue Devils.
Henderson couldn't get it to Bricky. Back out to Ferry. Shot clock at 7. Ferry well aware of it. Leans in. Got the foul. Mazik picks up the personal, his 4th. Ferry saw the shot clock running down, determined he was going to take the shot, got his man in the air, drew the foul. In the West region, Boise, Idaho, Arizona's Robert Morris draws the short straw and loses by 34. St. Mary's beaten by Clemson, 83-70. We showed you earlier the UNLV scores. They beat Idaho. And coming up, DePaul and Memphis State.
Will be an interesting matchup on Saturday between Arizona and Clemson. A lot of people feel that Clemson's athletic ability and their size might pose some problems for the Wildcats.
Of course, one thing is for certain, Sean Elliott will cause some problems for Clemson, as he has for everybody else.
And Anthony Cook for Arizona has played so well down the stretch for Arizona.
If they were playing all the NCAA tournament games at Clemson, South Carolina, the Tigers would be one of the favorites.
Be the favorite, be prohibitive.
Yeah. 77-54. Duke up by 23. Ferry will get a breather.
And with Duke, looks like they're going to win this ball game, and if they do and they play at noon on Saturday, we may not see Ferry again tonight. Mike Krzyzewski may elect to sit him down and rest him.
Wouldn't be a bad idea. Jumper outside by Ricky Bird.
There's Travis Williams again, Mike. Of course, South Carolina State's going to have to cooperate in that endeavor because you know Ferry will be right back in the ball game if they make another run.
They get it down to 15. He won't have much more rest on the bench. Trying to pick up the defensive pressure, but Duke is a good ball handling club. Kubek kicked out of bounds.
Mike, there's a couple of things I think you have to do to beat this ball club, this Duke ball club. One of those is to handle the ball very well, and the other is to shoot well. And if you can't do those two things, then Duke is going to have you in trouble. South Carolina State at key points has turned the ball over, and they have not shot the basketball very well at all.
Of course, a lot of that credit's got to go to Duke's defense, too.
Absolutely. It's the defense that causes those kind of problems, and to beat Duke, you have to beat that defense. There, Henderson draws the foul.
Henderson got Bird up in the air. Checking some other scores in the Southeast. LaSalle knocked out in the first round by Louisiana Tech. Oklahoma really had to fight off East Tennessee State. Virginia in a great scoring game over Providence, 197. Middle Tennessee State, Florida State, 24-24 first half. What the state of Tennessee gets some teams in this tournament.
That's right. I was just thinking that. There's a lot of folks from Tennessee.
I think the state's empty at this point. Everybody went to some tournament site or other.
Well, that site there is Nashville, so a lot of folks got to stay home.
Well, the rest of the state's empty.
That's right. Part around Knoxville was here.
78-56, Duke by 22, approaching 6 minutes. Henderson's had a big game. 21 points. Make it 22 on the night for Henderson. He'll get a breather. And Davis checks back into the ballgame for the Blue Devils. I think we're approaching 3-point shot time, and there's a bad pass as Chris Felix, number 44, turned his back and just ran away from Ricky Bird's pass.
Bird thought that he was just going to be a very easy pass to Felix, but at the last minute, Felix headed for the hoop without the ball.
Davis and Kubek, the Duke backcourt, and we've got a reach-in foul.
Davis was very fortunate there. He was dribbling right into a double team. Jeter turned very quickly. He picks up his 4th personal foul.
Jeter with 4, Mazik with 4. The disappointment for South Carolina State tonight has been Jeter with only 2 points. That coming on a first-half bucket. Smith had good position. The pass a little off the mark from Leitner.
No, I think it was off a Bulldog foot in there, and that's going to be the call by the officials.
And here's the action that we had earlier today. Minnesota looked good, beating Kansas State 86-74. Siena, with what may be the upset of the first round, knocked off Stanford 80-78, and West Virginia ran away from Tennessee 88-64. Good hustle, but they can't save it. Mountaineers, by the way, will win the combined football-basketball percentage. Now, we got to come up with a trophy for that somewhere. Had such a great year in football and such a tremendous record in basketball. No other school can match it this season. Williams forced that one up. Abdelnaby with a rebound.
Duke just on cruise control at the moment, Mike.
Kubek exchanging passes with Leitner outside. Duke just working the clock. Well, South Carolina has gotten a taste of what it is like, or South Carolina State, really, what it is like to be in the NCAA. They won the regular season and conference tournament in the MEAC.
Well, they certainly haven't embarrassed themselves out here.
Not at all.
They really came at the Duke Blue Devils, created some problems, just weren't able to hang on to the basketball. There's a foul on Mack.
Mack just trying to force Leitner as the shot clock got down to 7 seconds.
South Carolina State shot only 38% in the first half, and I don't think that they've shot the ball very much better in the second half, with the exception of that one stretch where they had a 10-0 run against Duke.
Clay Buckley comes in for the first time, and Abdelnaby will go out. So I think Mike Krzyzewski looking to rest as many of his starters as possible. Leitner misses the free throw, however. Williams with a rebound. 79-56, the Blue Devils in no trouble. Williams with the turnaround jump shot. Smith with the rebound. And the crowd starting to file out of the Greensboro Coliseum. Knocked out of bounds. Good play by Caldwell. Good hustle. He's had a fine game. We have a timeout on the court with 4:28 to go in the game. It's Duke 79, South Carolina State 56. Back in a moment. This is what has happened in the last 6 years with Mike Krzyzewski's Duke Blue Devils. Second round, the runner-up with a 37-3 record, an incredible year. Made to the Sweet 16, the Final Four. They got a chance to go back to the Final Four again this year. And Krzyzewski and his staff have done an incredible job in Durham, North Carolina.
Well, there's a couple other teams in this region who are going to have something to say about that, Mike. Most notably, and most immediately, the West Virginia Mountaineers, who these Blue Devils will tackle on Saturday.
Well, I didn't issue them the plane tickets. I said they got a chance to go back. Pittsburgh over Ball State. 4 minutes left. The Panthers out of the Big East up by 3.
And obviously getting everything they can handle from the Mid-America Conference champion.
Exactly.
But Ball State comes into the tournament with a record of 27-2.
And it doesn't matter where you play. If you're 27-2, you're a good basketball team. Caldwell with 16, averaging only 9.9 points a game. He's taken over on offense for the Bulldogs tonight.
And he's really had to. Mack is below his average. Jeter is below his average. Travis Williams has played real well, and so has Caldwell. They've probably been the two leading lights out there for the Bulldogs.
Caldwell has hit 6 out of 7 from the free throw line. 79-58, 4:15 to go. Full court pressure. Buckley double team, and he's clobbered. That foul will be on Mazik, and that should be 5 on Stephen Mazik, the senior out of Charleston, South Carolina.
Mazik questioning the officials, saying, "Did you call that foul on me?" That's one of those things. He reaches in there on the double team and fouls Buckley, and then just as the whistle blows, Buckley belts him in the head. So you always feel like a little cheated that you got called for the foul and you're the guy that got the worst of it. You can see Mazik fouling out with 7 points.
Averages 11.2. It was not a big night for him on either end of the court. And now Buckley will go to the line where he's only a 53% shooter. So if South Carolina State decides they are going to foul an awful lot, Buckley is one of the guys they'll be looking for. Now that class, that's a pretty good winning record, 113-26.
Most classes would take that.
Buckley does not look like a 50% free throw shooter. Of course, being up by 21 doesn't hurt your confidence either.
Duke stays in the zone defense.
Ricky Bird forces up the jumper, rebounded Kubek. Here's full court pressure, and Davis just clear out. Let me get up court. Instead, Leitner comes back to help out. Davis, nice pass to Kubek.
You want to know how to beat a press? That's exactly the way to do it.
Outstanding ball movement. 83-58. And here's a steal by Smith. Just reached in on Chris Felix and swiped it. Duke just working the clock down to 3:23.
And with a 25-point lead, Mike, they don't even have to worry about getting a shot, although they're not going to let the shot clock expire without taking one.
Davis calls out the play. Shot clock at 15. Kubek had the shot, passed on it, now takes a tougher shot at the baseline, and Caldwell gets the rebound.
Caldwell still playing hard. That's an excellent block out. Davis tries to take the charge and doesn't get it, but Bird misses the layup. Credit that to Leitner back there for pretty good defense.
South Carolina State's had half a dozen layups in this game that the Duke defense has forced them to miss.
On breakaway situations, just like that. Quinn Snyder with a couple of charges taken, a couple of other bothers, if you will, just bother the guy enough to miss the shot. There's going to be another foul. Leitner's going to go to the free throw line. For Cy Alexander, his first trip to the NCAA tournament, not with the ending that he would like to have. But he's got to be very pleased with the way his team came out and hung in there for a long time against a vastly taller Duke ball club. And a Duke ball club with much more talent and experience in big games.
And he'll take him back to Orangeburg, South Carolina, and start thinking about next year. And hopefully, as Dan told you at the top of the telecast, one of the things they wanted out of the proceeds of getting to the NCAA tournament was the ability to hire a full-time assistant. And it makes it gives you a little bit different perspective when everybody else got 3-4 assistants and all the goodies that go along with major college basketball. And they've got someone who's a high school teacher and then comes over and helps coach the ball club.
That's right, Mike. Assistant coach Francis Simmons is a high school math and science teacher.
George Bergen is into the lineup for the Blue Devils, a 7-foot junior out of Fairfax, Virginia. Ball tipped out of bounds with 2:28 to go, out to Duke.
You know, Duke just keeps bringing these great big guys off the bench.
This is Crawford Palmer is in for the first time, a freshman. Kubek being pressured and fouled by Eric Jeter. That should be 5 on Eric Jeter.
And it is. Jeter takes that slow walk over to the bench. Very frustrating game for him. Only scored 2 points.
That was really a nice touch by Cy Alexander. Here's one of his leading offensive players who had a tough night. He makes sure he shakes his hand, tells him good game.
Well, even though they've lost the game in this first round of the NCAA tournament, Mike, let's face it, they've had the best record in the school's history. They've had an absolutely outstanding season. So they have certainly nothing to be ashamed of.
Kubek with that last miss. They get it down to Kenny Bird, back out to Caldwell. Kubek with a rebound. Kubek had it swiped from behind. This is Chris Felix.
A little showtime right there. The reverse dunk. He'll remember that.
To get a couple of more of those before this one is over. Here's a double team against Davis, and he's fouled in the backcourt by Daryl Gilmore. .155 to go in this one. Danny Ferry now among the top 6. He is 5th on the all-time list. 2,062 points. And this is the only school that's had 6 guys with more than 2,000 points. That's a tremendous record book. Free throw missed again.
Alley-oop try right there. Felix not being able to control the ball.
Bergen got a rebound. Buckley is wide open underneath. Kubek finally gets him the ball, and then he's stripped on the way up. Felix will get another crack at it. No, lost it out of bounds. And George Paulk will come back in the ball game. This is the big guy who's coming off the broken leg, only cleared to run a couple of days ago.
Paulk played 6 minutes in the first half. That's about as much as they thought they were going to get from him.
He just shrinks whatever area of the court he's on. Palmer won't shoot, kicks it out to Buckley. Mike Krzyzewski calling the play. They loop it low to Bergen, had it knocked away. The foul will be on Mack. They're all looking out there. They want the reserves to score. They want them to get in the box score, and they're having a good time. It's funny to watch the coaches, though. The coaches are still coaching like it was a 2-point game. Now, you guys are on the court, you got to do it right.
Well, regardless of the situation, you want your kids to come in off the bench, Mike, and execute the things that they practice. A guy like a Greg Kubek or a Brian Davis, well, they might be in the game in a critical situation, and so you don't want the guys to go out and practice bad habits.
Bergen perfect on the 2 free throws. 87-60. Duke, we're down to 1:16 left to go. Ball State has the lead now over Pitt. Time running out on that one. Buckley helping out on the press.
Hulk may be the one guy in college basketball that Buckley's quicker than.
Ball thrown out of bounds. Caldwell goes baseline, hits the shot.
South Carolina State still out there plugging away, Mike.
Their record will drop to 25-8, still the most ever wins they've had. Duke's record will go to 25-7, and they will move on to meet West Virginia Saturday afternoon right here in Greensboro for the right to advance to the Sweet 16.
And certainly Cy Alexander has to consider this year a successful year. Only his 2nd year at the helm at South Carolina State. And as you've mentioned, took a program. There you get a look at Cy Alexander, graduate of Catawba College. Took a program that had 9 losing seasons in a row and turned it around.
Duke has not shot free throws very well in this ball game. It's been a trouble for the Blue Devils all year, only 67% as a team. Kubek lost it, and they get it inside to Rodney Mack. It's nice to see Mack score. He's worked real hard in this ball game and hasn't had many opportunities.
South Carolina gets a timeout.
The Bulldogs stop it with 25 seconds to go in the game. They're down to Duke by 20. 87-67. Blue Devils by 20 with 25 seconds to go.
South Carolina State faithful still very enthused.
Are they? Somebody, one of them at least. Oh. And And there's a foul in backcourt as they go for the double team with 22 seconds left. Sounds like somebody sat on their cat. Strange things happen at the end of games like this.
Yes.
Hopefully we won't be subjected to any more.
Hopefully we won't be part of it.
22 seconds to go, and Davis will go to the free throw. Blowouts can do some strange things to everybody. Well, the Bulldogs still hustling right down to the end. Ricky Bird's jumper cuts it to 18. Inbound to Kubek. And a foul in backcourt again. At this point, you have to wonder, with 8 seconds to go, whether you go back and commit that foul.
Well, I don't know that a basketball coach wonders about that. He wants his players playing hard right till the end. I would guess, though, if I were Cy Alexander, I would sort of want to get out of here.
Yeah.
There you can see Cy Alexander and his staff.
Kubek gets the bounce. 88-69. Kubek didn't get the roll on this. The rebound to George Polk. Kubek intercepts. Polk diving for it. Kubek. It'll count. And Duke has beaten South Carolina State to advance to the second round of the NCAA. 90-69. We'll be back to Greensboro.